Hey guys, I'm just waiting for some people to log on. Okay, so hi everybody. Today I'm doing a Talk Tuesday for The Secret Behind the Step. Today's Talk Tuesday, sorry if I keep looking down, I'm looking at my little notes, with my questions and stuff on there. But today's Talk Tuesday is roughly about some mistakes that we made as step parents in hopes that it will help somebody else along the way before they kind of make the same mistake. Also, I got a lot of questions about discipline and boundaries. So we're going to try to cover that in a short amount of time. I'm also doing a blog on discipline and boundaries soon. It'll be out January 9th, Monday, January 9th, if you guys want to check that out. So for everybody who checked out the last blog that I posted, you guys already know my biggest mistake. And if you haven't checked that out, then you can go on over to thesecretbehindthestep.com to see what I'm talking about. So at any time, if you guys want to comment below, kind of talk about some of the mistakes you may have made, because nobody's perfect in this step parenting journey or your step parenting walk. And we can kind of help each other out with mistakes that we've made before the next person probably make the same mistakes. That's just life, period. So I got a couple of questions. I kind of like combined them because they were kind of like redundant. So I wouldn't be saying the same thing over and over again. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the discipline. I got so many questions on discipline. How it is disciplining your stepchildren. Is it okay to discipline your stepchildren? Just all kind of questions about, is it all right to hit your stepchild? Do you discipline your stepchild and your biological child the same? So I'm just going to start by saying, with me, I see discipline and chastisement as two different things. So we're going to first cover discipline. Now with the discipline, I feel as though you should discipline your children the same. So if you have, if you have a stepchild and they live with you, or, and you have a biological child, then disciplining your biological child different from your stepchild can sometimes cause problems, because they can then see, okay, well, I can get away with this, or she's not going to chastise me with this, or, my brother or sister, whoever, is going to get in trouble for this, but I'm not. So I think that can sometimes cause problems if you don't. And I'm not talking about, hitting or beating or anything like that. I'm just talking about the same way that you would chastise your child if they were fighting together, and you chastise your child differently than you would chastise your stepchild. That could sometimes cause a problem, because then that could, show your stepchild that, okay, it's okay for you, but it's not okay for your brother or sister. So, or even your half brother or sister, whatever the case may be. Also with disciplining, I just feel like with me and my family, the discipline is the same no matter what's going on, or no matter who it is. Even, I said this before in my last Talk Tuesday, even with my nieces and nephews, they, if you get in trouble, you get in trouble. Now, I don't personally beat my children. They may get popped here and there. They may need to be in, but I don't beat them. So I don't hit any, I don't beat any of my children, my biological children or my stepchildren. That's just how I choose, how me and my husband choose to run our household. But I do think that there is a difference in the discipline, only because I feel like when my stepson, when he lived with us, while he lived with us, I wouldn't, anytime he was disciplined or got in trouble or anything like that, it's not like I'm going to call his parent or, call my husband every 5 minutes, like, he's doing this. No, at a certain time, I feel like, based on your relationship with the child, you are going to have to discipline them. You're going to have to step in and say, this is not allowed, this is not accepted, you can't do this, or, whatever the case may be. Because if you just let things go unsaid, or just, or you're just going to have to wait for your parent to come home, or I'm going to call your mom, or I'm going to call your dad. That's not going to work, especially if the child is around a lot. Now, if you're on a every other weekend type basis, I still don't think that it's good for a child to disrespect any adult in any home. So, but if you're on a every other weekend type basis and you say, okay, I'm just going to wait for your father to come, or I'm going to wait for your mother to come, by all means. However, here, no. Yeah, punishment is the same. And I think that that's good. One of the questions that I got from someone is that they feel when they treat their biological child, the way they treat their biological child, they feel like they can't treat their stepchild, even if it's just hollering at them, or, if they get in trouble for something that they do, because they feel like that child is going to then go back and tell the parent, which in this case is a biological mother, on the stepmother, and that will then cause issues. My answer to that is it'll cause more issues if you don't do anything at all for your own household. You'll be keeping the peace with, that child's biological mother, but then when it comes to yourself and your own household, you're causing more drama and more issues. And if that person is mature enough, then they'll be able to understand that this child, you can't go there and do whatever you want or speak to an adult however you want. Also with boundaries. Okay, so boundaries. Well, what I'm going to start with boundaries is learning boundaries based on parenting children with different needs. This is something that I had to learn, and it was kind of difficult for me to learn because I feel like parenting children with different needs is kind of complicated. In my situation, my stepchildren don't have the same mother. So with my stepson, whose mother is involved in his life, there's a certain, he doesn't really, need as much as a mother figure as my stepdaughter, who's fully with me and her father. So to me, there's a difference between how much of a mother I have to be to my stepdaughter as opposed to how much of a mother I have to be to my stepson, or what he may need in his life at this time, with him being a boy, a teenager, and, living, well, not living, but, going back and forth with homes, as opposed to my stepdaughter, who's here 100% of the time, and I am the mother role model in her life. However, she's not my biological daughter. And with my son, who, is my biological child, and you don't want your own child to lack while you're parenting your stepchildren, or you have to figure out the need for your biological child while you're parenting your stepchild as well. So with boundaries, I would say that it's very hard to differentiate what each child needs at that time. But for me, I just try to, as far as, with my daughter, she needs more time. She needs more of me than my stepson does. And it's each family will be different, but finding a line where, okay, this is what he needs and this is what she needs, and I have to be this to him, and then I have to be that to her. So it's like, even with step parenting, you're still wearing, well, in my situation, I'm still wearing different hats, because I'm not as hands-on with my stepson, especially now, as I was before, than I am with my daughter. And before, I used to think, okay, well, as long as they're your children, just treat all of them the same, and then that's just it. That's just how it works, and that's how it should be. But that's actually not the case. What one need, the other may not need. And with your biological child, you just got to make sure that you're still, not neglecting your biological child while still trying to be a good step parent. I felt myself a couple years ago, not yet, maybe like 2 to 3 years ago, questioning, me being a parent to my son, because it was like, to me, and it may have been like a guilty conscience, but to me, I was doing a lot more step parenting than I was parenting. Bye, Christian. Sorry, guys, that may happen from time to time. But I was doing a lot more step parenting to me than I was parenting, and I felt like I was lacking with parenting my biological son. He didn't go nowhere, he was still here 24/7, but I just feel like the attention, I wasn't putting as much attention with my biological son as I was with my child because I felt like the need with her was more. So like she had more of a need of me than my own biological son. So to me, it's just finding your common ground, or finding, whatever boundaries. Yes. Finding whatever boundaries are good for your family, but without neglecting any of your children. If you find yourself, like I did, find yourself treating them or being different, what word am I looking for? Or being more attentive to one than the other, then I feel like, that's okay, as long as you're doing it genuinely. And I mean, the need of your stepchildren, and also your mate may know the need of your stepchildren. My husband a lot of times tell me, you don't have to worry about them. Or like my house with the boys is kind of different because my husband is very, very hands-on with the boys. Normally when I go to the mall, I'm shopping for me and my daughter. Or, when he's shopping for him and the sons. And then sometimes I feel like, oh, I didn't buy my son anything, in the last month, but I've been buying my stepdaughter this, and this, and that. And it's just, it comes, I mean, now I don't have that problem, but before I would feel bad, like I'm neglecting my own biological child because I'm doing more for my stepchild. But it's just because she's a girl. I like shopping for girls. I'm a girl, so once I came to grips with it and my children, they don't really think anything of it. That was just me with my own, conscience, like, oh, well, you're not doing as much for your son as you are for your children. So that was that with learning how to, differentiate with the children. Also, I have on here the parenting. Someone asked the question, I'm sorry, about crossing boundaries with adult or overstepping boundaries. That could be a little bit tricky. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read at the same time that I'm answering these questions. So overstepping boundaries with adults, I would say first you would have to kind of know what boundaries you shouldn't be crossing. Like crossing boundaries, as far as being a step parent, being a biological parent, what was good and what's not. I think that all parties would have to kind of, communicate to say, okay, well, this is, too much for me, or this is unacceptable, or this, because with different families, it could be different things. As far as like, some people with the discipline, they may say, I don't want you to pop my child. I don't want you to hit my child. I don't want you to even yell at my child, which is, kind of crazy. But some people go to that extreme, and you have to first, I would say, if you're a step parent, communicate with your mate, to see, okay, your house have to be on the same page with discipline. And then it's up to your mate to speak to their ex-partner, or whatever it may be, ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, and say, okay, our child is going to be very involved in whatever the step parent's life, and this is how we discipline our children here. If the biological parent may have problems with it, then you guys are going to have to sit down and communicate to see what's comfortable for everybody without the child being able to disrespect anyone. I think that's a big part, because in a lot of step parenting or blended families, the child plays both sides. And if you let the child do that, then you guys are always going to be bumping heads or going back and forth about something, because if you allow the child to see that you guys are not on the same page, or this family don't like that family, and in this family, if I go back and say this, then this is going to make them argue. Children know. They are very, very smart, and they are very aware, and they'll figure it out, and they'll use it against you. So I would just say, you guys have to be a united front, period. That's the only way that the step parenting, or that you guys will come together and show the child, okay, so this is not allowed here. Even if some things are not, every household is not going to be the same. So even if some things are allowed at this house, they're able to do this there, but when you come here, you're not able to do this. And then the parent is in agreement. Well, when you go there, you can't do that, but when you come here, maybe, you may be able to do that. So I think that that's key with some of the boundaries. Also with boundaries, I would just say there's certain things that I feel is necessary for your mate or your spouse to handle. For instance, I was having a conversation with one young lady, and she was saying that she felt the need to go and speak to the child's biological mother about certain situations. And to me, some situations have to be dealt with by the child's parents. And it's okay. I mean, some people as step parents feel like, they're involved and it's okay for me to, take care of the child or watch the child or, take the child to school, help the child with their homework. But when it comes to, something else or, when it comes to something in particular, I can't make any statements or I don't have any say so. I think that that's between you and your mate. Your mate determines to you what role you play in your stepchild's life. So if you're discussing it with your mate and your mate is getting your feedback, to me, it's no need for you to then give the same feedback to the child's biological mother if you guys don't have a good relationship from the beginning. Now if you guys are cool and, you're in this parenting journey together and you feel the need to discuss a certain situation with the child's biological parent instead of your mate, then by all means. But if you don't have that kind of relationship, I think communicating with your mate without overstepping your mate that's a boundary, with not discussing something with your mate but then going and discussing it with the child's biological parent. And then what if the child's biological parent has a problem with it? They're going to go to your mate and tell your wife or husband to stay at their place because they just came and talked to me about something that wasn't their place. So I just feel like that's key when it comes to boundaries with the adults and with, disciplining the child. Also with disciplining the child, when I was, kind of Googling statistics and things like that, there's a lot of abuse that comes from disciplining stepchildren. I was actually talking to a gentleman in a car shop, just regular. I was getting my oil change, and he was an older man, and he was saying, I don't know how we just start talking about politics, religion, common, parenting, how many kids, grandkids he had, and he was telling me, before he was hospitalized because his stepfather used to beat him unconsciously. And that's just, you kind of hear that a lot. So as a step parent with discipline, you can kind of understand a biological parent's hesitant when it comes to disciplining their child. Period. If you send your child somewhere to someone's house, the first thing you'll probably say is don't touch my child or don't hit my child or, don't do this and that, because you don't know how far people will go with disciplining their own child, and they may do something to your child that you would not allow or that you wouldn't do. So a lot of biological parents do have like a strong opinion when it comes to disciplining your children. With my stepson, I don't feel the need to discipline him at all. It's probably something that I could just tell his mother. Not discipline, chastise. I discipline him a lot. But chastising, like putting my hands on him or going to a certain extreme, first of all, he's way bigger than me. But he still can't beat me. But I'm just saying, and I just feel like even with my son, certain things, I'm just like, your father is going to deal with you. That's just me in here. But with my boys, normally your father is going to deal with you. Now with my stepdaughter, it's different. Yeah, I pop her from time to time because she needs it. And like I said, she is 100% here. So I think that it would be different. I probably wouldn't feel the need to have to pop her from time to time. If her biological mother was, if she was, involved, and it was something that I could just say, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. But as I stated earlier, that's not the case. So I am the woman figure or the woman role model in her life. And as I stated earlier, most times when I'm telling my husband, like, these boys is out of control, you need to handle it, or you need to do something. That's normally what he's telling me about my daughter. And that's just, I don't know, it's just something that we formed here. Is kind of like, I deal with her and you deal with them kind of thing. Not so much, if I have them all, then they're all getting disciplined. But I hope you guys get what I'm saying. If you don't, comment below. But normally that's just the way it works. I deal with her and he deals with them, and she's my stepdaughter. But I do feel like that there is a certain boundary. I do feel like, depending on the relationship that you have with your stepchildren, that dictates how far you go with the discipline or with the chastisement in your household. So I think that it's a lot of communication. As I always state, I promise you, with blended families, communication is key. If you don't communicate and you assume, it can cause so much drama, and it could be unnecessary drama. It could be very unnecessary. And if you do, as I stated before, if you do have someone that is not willing to communicate, then you are on like a trial and error type of parenting. You're just going to have to do trial and error. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If someone's not willing to communicate with you, then it's nothing. You can't force anyone to communicate with you. And if they have set boundaries, then they need to communicate that. Because if you don't, then okay, we're on this trial and error. If your child is here and disrespecting me, then your child is going to be on punishment. Your child is going to have to sit in a corner, depending on age, or whatever the chastisement may be. And if your child goes back to you and says something, and there's a problem, that's why I state, sorry guys, my fax machine. That's why I stated that it's very good for you and your mate to be on the same page. Because if this parent then comes back and have a problem with, something that you've done, then your mate can be there to stand up and say, well, listen, this is what happened. This child did this, and then this is the repercussion that this child has to face in this house. So it's just better if everybody is on, if everybody is on the same page from the beginning. If not, then trial and error. I learned so much trial and error, so that's why I can kind of, really relate to that, because it was so much that I had to learn just by making mistakes. And that's why I created the blog, because I'm like, there is no way, if I've learned all of this stuff by making mistakes, then I can share it with other people. Because, being young and immature, you do learn a lot. And it just was, to me, being older now and looking back, is like, that was a lot of things that I did not have to go through. So if I can help someone else, like, listen, just try your best to communicate. Because in all actuality, if that's what you need to eliminate drama in your life, then do it. And try your best to do it. Like, a lot of people say, okay, well, I tried to talk to her or him and it just didn't work out. Try again. When you feel, I'm not saying beat nobody over the back. Like I said earlier, you can't make anyone talk to you. But, I mean, you can try more than once. Everybody, as I stated before in the first blog, everybody is not going to be on the same page probably at the same time. But that don't mean just because you're ready and somebody else is not ready that you just give up altogether. Like, no, you may have to wait and then try again, or wait and then try again, So I really encourage that. Keep trying and, give people a chance. Like, respect people's boundaries. If someone is not ready, then they're just not ready. I have other questions. This is in regards to the first blog, speaking about the step-parent, the biological parent holding a step-parent to a higher expectation than they normally would hold themselves. A lot of biological parents feel as though, well, not a lot. I got like maybe three questions and statements about this, but I'm sure if these 3 people felt this way, then a lot more people may have felt this way. But a lot of people feel like that the step-parent is probably the one holding the biological parent to a higher expectation than they hold themselves. And I feel like it can go vice versa. I'm not here to say this is more and this is less. I feel like it can be vice versa. And I feel like if you do, first you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, then this statement or conversation is not going to mean anything. But if you're honest with yourself and okay, I'm not even doing all of that. Why am I expecting this person to be doing all of that with their child or with my child or whatever the case may be? be honest with yourself. And if you feel like you're holding that parent to a higher expectation than you're holding yourself, then reevaluate. And I'm not negating that. I'm one to say that could be the problem. A step parent can hold the biological parent to a higher expectation as well. So I don't want anybody to get offended. Like, that's not, I wasn't, even though I did make the statement, but it can go vice versa. The step parent and a biological parent can hold each other to a higher expectation than they're holding themselves to. So that is how I should have stated it. I did not state it that way. I apologize to all my bio moms out there who kind of came for me. But and as I stated, a lot of questions or statements that I get, or a lot of things that people email about, this blog is for blended families, to help families blend. This is not the bash your baby mama, baby daddy blog. And this is not, this blog is not, I'm not here to say, oh, this is wrong and that biological parent is wrong, or do this or that's not what I'm here for. This blog is to help, hopefully, and show you guys how I dealt with certain situations and how I feel like these situations could be better by changing some of your actions and some of your ways and communicating better. I'm not here to bash anyone. So a lot of, the comments that I may get, if I ignore it, I'm not being rude or anything like that, but that's just not what I'm here for. I'm not here, this is not the bash the Bio Mom Club. No. I've been blessed with two wonderful biological moms in my life. So, I love them, they love me. So, I can't help you guys with that. There's a lot of other sites that do that. That's why I felt the need to create this blog and create this space for people who did not want that kind of drama, who did not want to be in a negative space with the child, with their stepchildren, or with their stepchildren families, or anything like that. This is what the secret behind the step is for people who want their blended families to blend well, to be, drama free as much as it can be. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I got a couple, statements that, that's not me. That's not this blog. Sorry, guys. So the next question that I have here is, this kind of goes back to the first one. I'm not sure why I wrote this separate, but with punishment. Punishment with your children. I spoke about this earlier. Punishing your children, I think it should be the same with your biological children, as long as you and your mate are in agreement with that. So if you guys have any comments, I think that was the last question that I had as far as disciplining and boundaries, or if you guys have any mistakes that you feel like you've made with being a step parent, that you might want to comment below, that might be able to help somebody else out. Or if you guys want to send me an email, about the next Talk Tuesday, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm going to give y'all time to comment or to add in, because I know all y'all are not perfect step parents. So you've made a mistake once or twice that you may be able to share. Hold on, I'm just scrolling through. But I also want to say that next Monday, which is January the 9th, there's going to be a new blog on the site. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my calendar. Next Monday, January 9th, is going to be a new blog on the site. And this blog is going to go in, more detail on disciplining and boundaries. I'm going to do a Talk Tuesday every other Tuesday. So today, January 17th and January 31st. So next week is going to be kind of a treat for you guys. I don't know if it's a treat or if I'm just tripping, but me and my husband are going to do next week Talk Tuesday together. God, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But so you're going to have the biological parent's point of view that have to kind of deal with the step parent parenting their children. So my husband is going to be doing Talk Tuesday with me on Tuesday, January 17th. Pray my strength, y'all. Please because he's a piece of work. So, I mean, if you guys are in blended families and you have your mate and you may say, hey, check us out. It'll be on Facebook Live next Tuesday, January 17th. Me and my husband doing a Q&A. And then the following January 31st, that's another surprise for you guys. I'm going to hold that one to the next Talk Tuesday. I'm not going to give everything out on this one. But as I said, new blog coming January 9th and January 23rd. I'm going to be doing blogs bi-weekly. So every other Monday. I just only did one in November and one in December because it was the holidays, and the site was launched late November, so that was close to Thanksgiving, and I know it's the holidays, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm very busy during the holidays. So now that we're here in January, I'm going to be doing a blog every other Monday, and Talk Tuesday every other Tuesday, so on the opposite week. So today will be the first Talk Tuesday, and then it's going to be on the 17th and the 31st, and then the new blog will be coming the 9th and the 23rd. But I'm going to list it all on the site. Make sure you guys check out the site, www.thesecretbehindthestep.com. I'm just going back reading comments. Yes, Tara, being on the same page is definitely a must. It just makes it, less drama. Communicating is key, Harold. Yes, so yes, that's why me and my husband actually decided to do this, because I do feel like getting the man's perspective is going to be very beneficial for the females as well, because I feel like a lot of times, with step parenting, just me personally, it can get a lot of, you could feel, unappreciated. You could feel like, you're doing this, and that, and your mate is not really appreciating you. So you could kind of get a man's perspective on how they look at things, how they generalize it, how they feel about their children, how they feel about you being involved or not. So, some men feel like some women should be more involved. Some may feel like, you should be less involved. So you could be able to get a man's perspective on all of that. Let me just tell you guys, my husband will be brutally honest. So, I mean, I look forward to it. And, we're in a place where I can, sometimes he tell me, maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe you should just let that go, or maybe, and by all means, maybe I should. Sometimes maybe I shouldn't. So this is going to be interesting not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, with me and him doing a Talk Tuesday. So if you guys, like I said, if you ever have any questions, you can feel free to email me at thesecretbehindthestep.com, or you can shoot me an email directly at thesecretbehindthestep@gmail.com. Also, like I said, new blog Monday the 9th. Look forward to it. And if that's it, if there's no more questions, then I will see you guys Monday and next Tuesday. Bye.